But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
What's up, Faithful? Welcome to the 49er Faithful UK Live. As always, I'm your host, Paul Hope, and on today's live show, we will be taking a look at football closer to home. Now, joining me tonight was supposed to be El Presidente Lee Gowland and our very own Nadgy Corral. We all know Nadgy's love for the Chester Romans and his history in BAFA, but unfortunately, family commitments have come first for Nadgy tonight. Now, I am hoping Lee will make an appearance. He's having some technical issues, which is unlike the main man, but also joining me tonight and making his very first appearance on the 49er Faithful UK Live. I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Walker, who was a member of the community and whose idea it was for tonight's topic. So thanks for joining me today, Matt.
It's an absolute honour, really, Paul. I've been watching a load of stuff that you guys have done and everything you've done for the 49ers UK community, and I'm just I'm thrilled to be invited on here. So thank you ever so much for having me.
No, you're welcome, buddy. So before we get into it all, El Presidente, as you can see on the comments below, everybody, he's hoping to still make it on. So he's frantically trying to work out his tech issues. Got to show Red Jet Shell the love. She's joined from California. As she says there, Matt, be sure to like and subscribe. Rob is in the house. Bang, bang, UK Niner gang. And he's put TikTok, gents. It's 3 p.m. Come on. He needs his UK fix. So there was a few technical problems, Rob, but we're here. So for you people who are joining us across the pond, do not worry. We aren't talking about that other kind of football. When we say we'll be taking a look at football closer to home, what we mean is today we're going to be having a chat about the European League of Football, as well as Britball, which is a thing in this country. And we just wanted to shine a light on football closer to home. But before we get into all that and much, much more, Matt, everybody needs to know, how long have you been a Niner and how did you choose this fantastic team of ours?
Back in the 80s when it was all on Channel 4, my dad used to work at a factory and he'd bring us back all sorts of bits and bobs as time went, knock off VHS, you know, all that sort of thing. And one week he presented me with this very jersey. And at the time I played a little bit of rugby. I was I must have been sort of 9 or 10. It was just after Super Bowl 19, so the Niners had just won. I remember my first Super Bowl live being the Bears, Super Bowl 20, Bears Patriots. But I kind of just said to him, "What's that, Dad?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know. I think it's something called American football." And literally, that then hooked me, the red and gold of the Niners, and that's why I am a Niner, and I have been since that 1984 and 1985 season. Lucky enough to get out to Candlestick in 2003. Been to all of the London games, the 4 London games with the Dolphins and the Redskins. Obviously, more recently Jacksonville. And honestly, just go to sleep every night dreaming. And obviously the pain we've been through over the past 4 or 5 championship games and the Super Bowls. And we're going to win one. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And, you know, and that's why we are faithful not only to the US, but obviously faithful to the UK. And I again, like I spoke to Paul off air, the work that Lee and Paul and all you guys do for the 49er faithful is in the UK is just second to none. I've always said to Paul, I talk too much. So Paul's already got his hands on the back of his head, almost saying, "Shut up, Matt." But
No.
I don't know if I worry because I can't get across enough my passion for this team and what they mean to me. You know, it's bigger than a sport, and to say we're thousands of miles away like we are, it's just everything to me.
So what you'll find, Matt, the reason I sit with my hands, I'm sure I have ADHD. I can't sit still. And
Right.
To be honest, Lee Gowland is the man responsible for my setup, the acoustics, the microphone, and I'm forever banging the desk. So when I set up people, I make sure right, don't touch the microphone. So you will get used to me kind of putting my hands behind my head. I'm always interested, Matt, to find out people's stories. I mean, the people at home watching will know my story. You know, I found the team 2011, 2012. I found Lee in the group 2015, 2016. And I fully became immersed in the group in 2018 and recently joined LinkedIn. And I posted on there the other day to say where my journey started to where we are now. You know, 1,000 subs on YouTube, 5,000 followers on Twitter, the links with Nick Clark, 40 of us flying out to Leeds last year, 500 at the Super Bowl party, Joe Staley partying with us in London. Now, I have to admit, I've looked at that T-shirt you've got on a few occasions and I've thought, shall I press the trigger? And you are the first person to sport one on the live, I believe. So impressive, buddy.
No, thank you. You know, it's like you say. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be involved in the game, both from a playing perspective, a coaching perspective, and now most recently on commentary. I'm very, very lucky to have commentated on over the last 8-9 years on a number of games. Not only Britball games, so the likes of the Chester Romans, and I'm from Nottingham, so the Nottingham Caesars are my home club. But also then been fortunate enough to do the British finals, European games with GB and the NFL Academy, and I've just this season got on board with the European League of Football as well. So, and again, you know, if behind the scenes this is deemed to be a success, like you said about getting more involved, I'd love to get more involved with this community and you guys, if that's possible in the future.
So Ty Alston, I'm not sure if you're aware, Ty is a big supporter of what we're doing. And I spotted this comment where he said, look at Matt making an appearance. So are you and Ty? Is it someone you know before the show or?
No, it's I saw that comment and I thought, do I know that? I'm afraid not, unless he knows me from some other no, I don't. But nice to meet you, Ty. Thanks for the shout out. Yeah, the collection this is kind of a mobile office. My collection's all downstairs, so this has been sort of shifted up into one of my son's art studios, and obviously you can see how far back we go with the old Super Bowl 29 poster. I bought that brand new back in when we just got that. So yes, I do go way back, and also very proud of the old faithful UK from Craig Hill back in the day.
Yeah, so there's a few more people joining us. So we're joined by Brit. She's put, hey, 49 faithful UK. She's asking how Lee's doing. Ty Alston is a content creator from across the pond, Matt. He's a big supporter of what we're doing. Myself and Lee Gowland have been lucky enough to be on his channel. Ty joined us in the gold mine. He's an impressive content creator. He makes his own T-shirts. He was lucky enough to give me a Club 85 on last year. So Ty is a good man to have in your corner.
Nice.
And as Rob has put, Matt, this is my keep it coming pause. If you tune in on a Wednesday, like I said, I like to connect with the community. So part of what we've been doing in these last 12 months is obviously we've established the pod. We've got the awesome foursome and the podcast is running quite well. And then we decided to try YouTube. So the 49 Faithful UK Live is exactly what it says on the tin. We go live on a Wednesday. We talk current events. Now, this stage of the NFL calendar, Matt, is a little bit dry. I mean, I think it's the first day that I haven't checked Twitter. I haven't refreshed Twitter. I've been in the office in Darlington all day, and I've not worried about checking my phone because I kind of knew there was no news to break. So when you reached...
BA's told everyone that the Niners don't want him.
now. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I did see that one, that news drop. So we are going to touch upon that a little bit before we get into the European League of Football. The Niners don't pay anybody at this stage of the off season. We said it last week on the show.
That's right.
You look at when Kittle was paid. You look at when Warner was paid. You look at when Bosa was paid. I'm not overly worried. We've seen it with Debo. We've seen it. Social media. I run the social media account for 49 Faithful UK. There's certain things I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, poking the NFL UK account over their big news coming Debo tweet. And like I said, Ty, I'm not worried at the moment. I believe that BA gets paid. I think at the moment we've offered him 26 million.
26, that's right.
30 million. It'll come down to guaranteed money. It'll come down to crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But I said it about Debo. I said it about Warner. I said it about Kittle. How do you stand? Do you think a deal will get done, or do you think
I do? I genuinely do. I mean, I've got immense trust in John and Kyle and the way they've been and what they've done over the years. And obviously the media are going to criticise, and the excitement of all whatever the players are trying to get out of it. But like you said, nothing gets done till at least July. You know, any season. The Debo thing that went on last year with all the photos of him in nightclubs with removing himself from all the social media. I'm well on board with you. You know, it is a case. Trust Jed, trust John and Kyle. They know what they're doing. And, you know, with all these talks about these bonkers trades for Brandon Ayuk and bringing in whoever from wherever, you wouldn't swap that for that. And I strongly believe as well, as all the media have said, you know, the ball is in the 49ers court. You know, Brandon Ayuk may make all these noises, but the leverage that the Niners got is heavily in their favor. And you know, so no, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. And if we are, I mean, let's see. Again, it's all media, but Ricky Pearsall's looking good in camp, and you know. So I heard, by the way, Scotland was 6-0 at the minute. To be fair,
I don't often engage in that. I don't do soccer, English football. I haven't watched any of the Euros, but our good friend Brett Sinclair is a proud Scotsman, and I know he'll be watching the game. I've seen El Presidente winding a few of them up. I'm like Martin Hughes. Honestly, I don't particularly care. But I thought I would share that one on there. So Brit believes that BA will get paid. She loves him. He's one of the best receivers we've got. I agree. And honestly, Ty, it's been refreshing. I always take a bit of time off social media at this time of year. So, like you said, we're about 35 days away from training camp.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Niners dropped the news yesterday, which Brad Graham from the SF Niners shared. So I do look forward to training camp. I'm always very jealous, Matt, of the content creators that are based on the West Coast and can go to training camp. Yeah, it is something I would love to do one day. I don't think it'll ever happen for me, sadly. But training camp is where we really start to get back to the podcast and the live. Because at the moment, we're doing one or the other.
Yeah.
So there's some people who prefer the YouTube stuff. There's some people who prefer the podcast stuff, but we've always said that we're not just going to churn out content for the sake of churning out content. We're quite proud of how we've hit the 1,000 subscribers. We're quite proud at how we hit the 3,000 watch hours. Obviously, I'll talk a little bit later on about our relationship with Power Brand Systems, who's a partner of ours. But I think it's time, Matt, to introduce some of our American friends to the European League of Football. Okay. Now, I did do some homework.
All right.
But I'm no means an expert in this. So from what I believe, it played its first season in 2021.
That's correct.
We have 17 teams scheduled to play this season.
Indeed.
So this was your baby. You were keen to come on the show and talk about the European League of Football. So over to you, buddy.
Yeah, so like you say, I mean, it's the only fully professional league in Europe. I don't know how much, like you say, our American viewers are aware, but the GFL in Germany, football in Germany is huge. And if you followed way back to the World League of American Football, you know, and then onto NFL Europe, the main crux was based in Germany. It can't be worse than the UFL. It's not, and it's obviously what it's been designed to do is almost focus on the European players. There are US imports in there as well, but it's all about developing those Europeans with the express, if you like, aim of trying to open pathways into collegiate sport for them, but at the same time still playing in a professional league. There are, like you said, there's 17 teams, and a lot of them have the names and the branding from those old NFL Europe teams. So, for example, you've got the Barcelona Dragons, the Frankfurt Galaxy, the Berlin Thunder, the Rhine Fire, and the Rhine Fire are the current champions, coached by, do you know, Paul?
Jessica.
I'm only asking because it's Niner related.
It's the coach, Jim Tomsula.
It is Jim Tomsula, that's correct.
So, stop you there. Jessica Johnson, who's our admin member, she joined us in the gold mine. She was on the live a couple of weeks ago, similar to yourself. She wants to be more involved in the community. And her dad worked alongside Tomsula at the Scottish Claymores. Okay. So we were able to use Coach Tomsula's likeness a couple of weeks ago for our show, because we were like, how is Jessica Johnson connected to Jim Tomsula. So yeah, he is a favourite of ours. So yeah, I was aware he was coaching. I didn't know they were the champions. Now to stop you there,
Okay.
you've already mentioned something that caught my eye when I was doing my reading at lunchtime. So I've been in the office today, Matt. I took an hour's lunch break and I downloaded all that I needed to know about the European League of Football. And my colleagues were like, what on earth are you doing today? Because they used to be talking NFL. Now, unlike NFL Europe, whose rosters were mainly American, what caught my attention was there's a bigger focus given, as you said there, to homegrown players.
That's
with
right.
the goal to send these players into, hopefully, the NFL franchise. Now, that is massive. The potential, like you said, American football is growing huge in Europe, and we're going to talk about flag football and the Olympics. But obviously, for you, the European League of Football, you're connected to that. So it must. How would they go and maintain this kind of homegrown players? Do they have like restrictions like the Bosman rule used to be a few years ago, and things like that?
Well, again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, this is my first season working on it, so I'm kind of learning little bits and bobs about it myself at the moment as well. So I'm not completely 100% au fait with the structure of teams and how they're going to maintain that particular level, but also how they're going to the turnover. But what I do know is the financial commitment that's been given. I mean, if you go on to the European League.football, basically is the website. They've got their own Game Pass channel that, just like NFL Game Pass, you subscribe to. I know when I'm commentating, the way that they're furnishing, the stats and how professional it is, and they've got a 24/7 live channel with highlights and updates. So actually behind the scenes and the actual product is so professional that I think it does have a huge scope to be that dominant league and enable people from the domestic leagues in each country. Because I've mentioned already the GFL, there are British players out there. There's one lad that I commentated on who plays for Hamburg, who from Southampton was GB under 19. He's out from Southampton playing there. So, and
on that note, Matt, no, you're going to like this because you've given me permission off air. So Jamie Burgess has joined us. Jamie is a big part of the community. He's a great follow on social media. When he found out you were coming on the show, he messaged me and he said that two of his nephews currently play for GB under 19s. And one is currently playing for the Madrid Bravos.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, when you were going down that road, I thought we have to mention Jamie's nephew. So I'm obviously interested when members of the community reach out, because when you first proposed this idea of the show, I thought, are people going to be interested? Because I don't know if you've seen, there's a couple of people on the NFL UK sites at the moment garnering surveys for university courses. And I filled the questionnaire in the other day, and it was talking a lot about the franchise coming across to the UK. What are your thoughts on it? Now, well documented, Matt, I ain't changing my love from the Niners. If the franchise is based in London, it doesn't matter to me. But the European League of Football might have already got a new follower, thanks to you. So Ty Alston, who runs the Stay Faithful podcast, he's put there that he needs to dive into it a little bit more. So you mentioned commentating. So that's something that you're doing for the European League of Football at the moment, isn't it?
It is. That's correct. Yeah, my first season there. So I've been commentating for the last 8 or 9 years, and I kind of got into it because some of the guys I used to play with are in the media business, and they set up their own little production company. And initially, it was just focusing on the Nottingham Caesars, and we'd do all the Nottingham Caesars home games. And then as their company grew, we gained a little bit more interest from BAFA. And now those particular guys who are on-site productions are the main provider of particularly the championship games, the Britball weekends down in September for both the Premiership, the Division 1, Division 2, and the junior under 19 games. So so I've been lucky enough to do that. And I say I'm a teacher by trade. I'm a PE teacher, but I'm getting to the point where my love of football has always been there, but I've not found any way of actually following on that passion. And I'm really now trying to get to the point, and a little bit late in life. I'm not far off 50. I know you wouldn't think that to look at me, but if I could take this further, and unfortunately I wrote to the European League of Football earlier in the year and just to inquire whether there are any vacancies, and fortunately interviewed and managed to get a gig for this year. So I'm just expanding things as we go. Again, I had an opportunity with the NFL Academy as well. I don't know if you've delved much into that, or whether people are too much aware of the NFL Academy in this country and what that purpose is. But yeah, it's something, just football in general. I'm just like you. If the NFL bring a franchise here, brilliant, but not for me. I will be red and gold till I'm dead and cold. And yeah, absolutely. If you're a new fan to the NFL and you want to pick up a franchise, why not be the British franchise if that's the case? But in my opinion, you know, if you are a long serving, I see these posts where people go, what other jerseys would you wear apart from your team? And you're like, what?
No.
You're not a fan. How can you class yourself as a fan of faith, whatever, if you're prepared to put on any jersey, even a jersey? Let's not even go with the Cowboys or the Seahawks, right? But even like a non-rival. I just don't get it. I don't get the idea of supporting two teams of the same sport. I just don't get it. But yeah. So, my having delved and dipped into this European League of Football, it really excites me the way the product and the way they're trying to keep it professional and make that link, if you like, between Europe and the NFL. And obviously the NFL are loving this, the fact that, like you've said, they're expanding in Germany and obviously hitting out in Brazil now this year. But I think Germany is going to be the next big market in Europe that the NFL do exploit.
I mean, we have got a couple of members in our group, a part of the German faithful, and to be honest, when we were out with the gold mine last year, so we were very impressed that we had 40 of the UK faithful. You know, we were joined by some people from the States, some people from Denmark, but in general, we were there representing the 49er faithful UK. And one of the German fan groups, I think it was the Faithful Empire, basically they had a lot of people there and they managed to do the behind the scenes tour. So obviously we didn't know that at the time. So when you go to the gold mine, Matt, you're not allowed to tailgate because you're working for the miners. So you get to the stadium early. The advantage is you get to go into Levi's empty. The fanboy in me absolutely loved that walk up those stairs, taking it all in. But the German fans had managed to do like a behind the scenes tour. So they were in the stadium before we got in there. And then obviously when we got in the stadium, they went outside, they tailgated. I followed them on Instagram. And you're right. The German market is huge. I know they're pushing for the Niners to play a game in Germany. I find that very unlikely at the moment. I find it unlikely that we will get a UK game. I mean, obviously, you've got the faithful to the UK t-shirt there. I think the Niners themselves would prefer to play in Mexico, which I can understand. But I think they are being quite savvy with the marketing. I mean, the relationship we have with the team, we can't complain about Nick Clark, Ali Dickin, and the team have been absolutely amazing with ourselves. And I cannot wait to meet up with them again this year. Disclaimer, I don't have any breaking news for a watch party at the moment. Obviously, we're hoping to get one, but as we say every year, Matt, it isn't a guarantee that we're going to get a watch party. But I am aware, sorry to get my tongue tied, I am aware that the game in Germany is huge. Now, the European League of Football, do they play similar rules to BAFA, as in is it based on the NCAA?
They're modified NFL rules, but then but overtime is the NCAA, and it's interesting because they've just brought in the new NFL kickoff rules that we'll see come the autumn. They're the NFL, they're the rules that they use for kickoff. It's really strange to see how that's working when, you know, you've got the static two lines 5 yards apart from each other, and then the football flies over their heads, and they literally remain static until the returner fields the ball, and then all of a sudden, bang. It has actually, it excites me having seen that in action with the European League, because I do think there's going to be lots of opportunities for safer, and I understand why, you know, the leagues are looking to try and make kickoffs safer, but it does open up more opportunities for some really exciting special teams at the beginning of games, obviously after scores.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't seen a lot of the European League of Football getting ready for tonight's show. I started following them on social media. I started doing a little bit of homework. I suppose for me personally, what I will share, when I first met Tracy in 2018, a big sell of the NFL was it was from September to February. And then obviously, as I started to do a bit more content creating, that time scale has kind of expanded to all year round. But I'll be honest, obviously, you mentioned your age. I'm 43 at the moment. I'm 44 in a couple of months' time. I dipped my toe into playing flag football. Obviously, ruptured my Achilles tendon, decided to come back and play a season. tick that box off, Matt, and then I retired at the end of last season. And I couldn't leave it alone, but I
No.
didn't want to commit to playing. So I have started my coaching journey. So I don't know if you've seen on social media. So
Yeah.
Darlington team, who are in Division 2 of BAFA, Darren Mitchell, the academy head coach, reached out and has offered me this opportunity. So I'm about 4 or 5 weeks in now, Matt. So Saturday morning, I turn up at St. Aidan's Academy and I'm coaching, I think, 8 to 14-year-olds, passing on some of my knowledge, some of the mistakes I've made. And I am really enjoying it. It's helping me look at the game a different way, kind of from on the sidelines, being a bit of a coach. Now, I believe your background in American football is a lot more detailed than mine. So I have seen a few photos on your social media when I was deep diving. So you used to play contact, I believe.
Yeah, I played contact. I say not long. Well, I was about 13. I remember going down to watching the Nottingham Hoods as it was back then. And obviously, Nottingham Hoods, Birmingham Bulls, London Ravens. At that time in the 80s, football was huge. It really was in the 80s here. And you'd be selling out stadiums. You'd be having sort of 8,000-9,000 people watching British American football. And so yeah, I remember going down and actually going to the junior training sessions, which was for sort of 15 and above then. And I was 13, chomping at the bit to get on. There wasn't flag back then. So as soon as I was old enough, I put the helmet and shoulder pads on and got bashed around significantly. Played for 3-4 years. And then unfortunately tore my cruciate ligament when I was 17, 18. Be honest, I was at university, didn't rehab properly. And that ended up meaning that I couldn't get back to playing. After I finished university, came back home to Nottingham, as I say, and just got back in touch with my previous coach, my junior coach. And at the time, the Nottingham Hoods had sort of disbanded, and the Nottingham Caesars were the junior team. And the Nottingham Caesars then transitioned from the junior team up into the adult league. And I just contacted him and I said, look, I'd love to get back involved with coaching. Do you need a hand with anything? And he said, well, look, I'm looking to try and set up a junior team if we can with the Caesars. And we started off doing flag. That was back in sort of 2003, 2004 time. Had a couple of seasons successful on the flag circuit, going all around the country. I remember the first game we ever coached was down in Sussex. And then we managed to transition that flag team into an under 16 contact team. Made a couple of national semi-finals, one plate final. Remember that in Birmingham, we just got pipped to the post on that one. And then again, kids arrive, my own kids, and it is very much that sort of, I love this game so much, but it's time to, I coached for 3 or 4 years while I had my kids. But again, you may find this out, obviously, and people who are involved in the game in the UK will know, it's not only the training 2 or 3 times a week, but on game day, it's a whole day thing. And if you're traveling, it's not like you can do a local soccer match where you're traveling 10 minutes down the road. We're in Nottingham, we've got to go to Sheffield, or we've got to go to Tamworth, or we've got to go down, and it's an all day affair. And I just made a decision after 10 years of coaching that it was time to move on. And but again, I was always around and about the sport, and then fortunate enough to, I say, link in with these guys and get into the commentary side of things. So, and I'm glad that the nice thing is the Nottingham Caesar Juniors are still running today. And there's a couple of my mates who have sort of taken it over, and it's just lovely to know that something that I established way back has had that longevity and it's still going. But yeah, so that's my kind of experience in the whole playing coaching side of things. Fortunate enough to have had a couple of lads with me who've gone on to represent GB. I don't know if you've heard of, I don't know how many well people know the GB team, but in particular there's a chap called Will Hobbs who's been really successful, played out in Switzerland, and is still just retired from GB, but is now back with the Nottingham Caesars on their push to the Prem. So yeah, it's something that's, I said at the beginning, I can't put across as enough how passionate I am, not just about the sport and the Niners, but just trying to see this just get a real foothold in the UK as it has done in other European countries. The EFL, the European League, you mentioned about there being 17 teams. There's 7 in Germany, 2 in Spain, 1 in France, 2 in Austria, and then 1 each in Italy, Czechia, Hungary, Switzerland, and Poland. And you kind of think there surely could be room there for a franchise in the UK, but again, it's all down to financial backing and whether that will happen in the future. I know the EFL are looking to try and continue to expand over the next 3 or 4 years. But
how many teams? How many teams did you say there were? 17? Because I have a feeling. I have a feeling that there's a man here who might have been to all 17 stadiums on one of his many crews. So in the house, Lee Gowland, yes, buddy. you're on mute, I think. Your technical problems.
I was on mute. I was keeping myself quiet in the background. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm very well, Lee. How are you?
I'm fine. Finally got there. Technical
Now I'm
issues
noticing I've noticed we've got a Giants hat on. We've got obviously a Golden State residency hat. So I better put the Niners one on, surely.
To be honest, Matt, I got a Giants hat last week. I'll be full disclaimer. I had no interest in baseball until we went out to San Francisco last year. Connor Ryan booked me and him onto the Oracle Park Stadium tour. Lee joined us, and the guy who did the tour had me wanting to run through brick walls for the Giants. And I was like, I really need to add something else to my San Francisco collection. So I spotted my Giants hat last week, but I know why Lee is wearing what he's wearing. So at this point, Lee, I will let you explain because you can do it better than what I can do, buddy.
Yeah, so I mean, any Giants fans that are watching know exactly why I'm wearing this today.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost the greatest player who's ever played baseball, Willie Mays, today. And as a show of respect, I thought I'd wear my Giants gear tonight. I had the pleasure not meeting him, but not being too far away from him. So after the Giants won the 2014 World Series, I was lucky enough to be in San Francisco. So I was there for the parade, the ticker tape parade up Market Street. And I'm trying to think of which street I was on now. I was at an intersection, and he wasn't too far away because I was right at the front of the crowd, and he drove past in the car. I got a couple of good photos of him going past, as well as the rest of the team. And it was actually good to see him in the flesh, even though he was in a car a mile away from us and I couldn't talk to him, but it still felt special. So yeah, it's in honour of Willie Mays today.
Yeah, so like you said, Matt, the stadium tour was awesome. Seeing the statue, I knew Lee would be wearing the San Francisco Giants now on an equal measure, for want of a better word. The reason I rocked the residency hat, Matt, is they featured myself on their marketing equipment at the weekend for Father's Day. So I wanted to tip a nod to the residency because they've shown us the love. But I knew Lee would come through with his Giants hat. I didn't expect the Giants jersey though, Lee. But yeah, it was sad news all around for Giants fans today.
Did you hear the KNBR radio call when during a Giants game? There was
so I was watching it on my phone as I was trying to sort out the my technical issues and listen to you as well. So I watched it without the sound on, but I saved it so I can go back and watch it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
It was heartwarming. You could obviously, we know, like you say, what Willie Mays means to the Bay Area particularly, but to hear that particular broadcast to just be past the news and then have to relay it, it was a tough moment. It was, but yeah, like you say, just the greatest.
So Red Jet Shell has put there, rest in peace, legend Willie Sir Hay Mays. So to be fair, I got a bit tongue-tied there. Obviously, I'm not comparing Willie Mays to residency featuring me in marketing equipment. While I was meaning I was a bit worried, Lee, about how we should tip the nod to a legend. And I haven't shared anything from our social media today because, one, I was at work, and two, I wanted to check in with you because we are a Niners show, Matt, but we do like the Bay Area, like you mentioned there. It's Golden State, San Francisco Giants. So I have a feeling I may add a Giants jersey before long, Lee, to my collection.
Yeah, and the thing is with Willie Mays, it's not just about being like a Bay Area sports fan. Anybody in America know who Willie Mays is. They know the impact he had on the game. And I think teams of fans of opposing teams all had an appreciation of how good he was. And sadly, I mean, his career was shorter than it could have been. And I'm not saying the back end because he did play later on in life, but not long after he got into the league, he had to take 2 years out for national service. So he missed 2 years. And then he came back and then won the World Series. But yeah, just after, I think it was just after his rookie season, to be honest. I think he started 50, 51 and 52, he did national service. And then 54, he won the World Series, getting the MVP. But yeah, I mean, fans from all over the country know who Willie Mays is. So it's not just Bay Area, but I know what you mean, Paul. I mean, anything that we can do would be fitting, even if it's just retweeting the stuff that's come from the San Francisco Giants account.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's something I will do. I wanted to check in with you first. So obviously, what you'll have missed the first 30 minutes, Lee. Matt's been telling us a bit about the European League of Football. We've transitioned.
So I actually heard it. So I was watching the show as I was trying to. I was watching the show on my iPad as I was trying to sort out my machine issues I was having. So one question I do have, and I don't think you've answered this one, but how does BAFA compare to the European Football League?
With all due respect to BAFA, there is no comparison. There is absolutely no comparison. I say you'll have heard this is my first sort of year of sort of venturing into the EFL. It's been running now. This is the 4th season. And that's something that hit me right off the bat. The standard is incredible. The first game I called was the Prague Lions against the Hamburg Sea Devils, two of the sort of also rans, if you like, in this year, rebuilding teams. And even that, the standard of that, I mean, there was a first and 10 on their own 2-yard line, and you'd expect them, let's run the ball, let's get some clear away from your own goal line, bit of breathing room. The quarterback takes a 3-step drop, puts a dime down the sideline, literally in stride, a 99-yard touchdown, and you know, and it was just play after play after play, and even on the losing side, just the quality you can see, and no disrespect to any British athletes, but the homegrown talent in Europe is significantly high. And I know when the GB Lions, they've made great leaps and bounds over the years, the GB Lions, but still when they're playing the likes of the French and they're playing the other sort of blue collar European teams, it is significantly different. And with that then injection of the US imports as well, it is a spectacle. And I mean, you know, the majority of these teams out there, they're getting 18,000 watching as a game in you know, proper full stadiums, not like you sort of you're running track with a one stadium down the one sideline. It's big business. It's really impressed with the standard.
Well, I mean,
are we seeing the best players from the BAFA League going over to the European Football League? So the knock-on effect is BAFA is actually getting reduced in quality.
There is an element to that. I think there is, yeah. But I mean, the nice thing about BAFA is you may, and again, me coming on here, like I said to you guys off air earlier, I don't know how many, in my opinion, there's a lot of NFL fans in the UK that don't necessarily know a great deal about the British game. But over the years, obviously, as you'd expect, the hotbed of British American football has been in London. The London Blitz, the London Warriors have been successful way back to the 80s with the London Ravens. But you've just seen over the last kind of 3-4 seasons, other teams, I mean, Nottingham for a start. Nottingham in Division 1 at the minute, and they're pushing for promotion. But in Nottingham, the university game is huge. When I was younger and growing up, there was no opportunity to play football at university. But now, in fact, the standard at university is significantly rising, and it could be argued is a higher level than the British American football leagues, the community leagues as they are, purely because you've got a captive audience. You've got your students on campus. You can do a more regular training schedule, and as a result, you know, the standard there, and particularly now you've got sort of University of Nottingham, the UWE Bullets down in Bristol, who are the current back-to-back champions. But then if you go back into the British American Football League, the Manchester Titans are now the back-to-back champions, having beaten the London Warriors. So the divide seems to be really closing. That doesn't mean the standard's dropping, but it means that where once the London teams were dominant, there is now more of an equality across the country, which can only be good.
I mean, to answer that question a different way, Lee, I was just saying to Matt, obviously, I am connected to Darton's team, Division 2. I think comparing the BAFA League at the moment to the European League of Football, the European League of Football is kind of like a professional league. I was reading up, I mean, last year, the Rhine Fire had 32,000 spectators for their opening game against the Hamburg Sea Devils. You know, you compare that to BAFA. Me and Conor Ryan went down to watch Gateshead Senators, who've got a long historic name in the Northeast, played Darton's team a couple of weeks ago. There's about 40 people on the sideline. That's not a knock to both of those teams. But when you're comparing, I want to say amateur grassroots, which BAFA is, to a professional league. And I don't know whether you'll agree with this, Matt, but apparently the leap from Division 2 to Division 1 to then the Premier League is unbelievable. And
Huge.
I've seen it in Flag League. So obviously me and Connor started playing Flag last year. We were Division 1. We went up to Glasgow last year, and we played in the big tournament Flag in the new year. There was teams from all across the world, and seeing like London Smoke, national champions, going up against the American athletes in Mayhem. And London Smoke were like kind of the creme de la creme. And they were struggling against, as you said, Matt, some of the European teams. And I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. I just wish I was 10 years younger, Matt, that's all. Because, playing against these people at 42 years of age wasn't really good.
Hey, there's a Masters. They've just announced a Masters flag football tournament up in Sheffield later on in September for over. Over. I think it's women over 34, and I think it's men over 43. So even I was
already signed up. Me and James
Evans
will be
Excellent.
there.
Well,
will be there.
Even I was thinking about it, but like you've just mentioned about your Achilles, I think I might be pushing it a little bit. But hey, I can stand in the pocket and throw a ball.
So Justin, who's a good friend of ours from across the pond, he's basically said that we might all well be speaking Cantonese. He has no idea what we're talking about. And I said at the start, Lee, I know you titled the show Football Closer to Home, but given it's the off season and there's no Niners news, we did kind of want to give Matt the spotlight of talking about European League of Football and BAFA. So that's what we're talking about, Justin.
Another thing I wanted to try and sort of just put out there was the amount of opportunities that there are to get involved in football in the UK, not just as a player, but obviously as a coach, as a referee, and kind of just run through almost what's out there, like from junior level all the way up to the adults. And so I don't know if that's something you want me to just sort of run through in terms of the structure of American football in the UK. Don't worry if not. I
think that would be very good.
It's a good idea. However, Lee, we have reached that time in the show where I need to tell everybody about our awesome partners, Power Brand Systems. Power Brand Systems empowers creators and businesses to build their brand, attract an audience, and grow through effective systems and software solutions. But what do I know? Sit back and hear what they have to say.
Ready to generate more leads from your website, Google, and your social channels without having to spend money on ads? Our platform provides you with an easy-to-use communication stream that sucks in free leads from your website, Google, Facebook, and Instagram, enabling you to reply and convert them into customers from your computer or from our mobile app. We'll even turn your inbound calls into text message conversations, so you'll never miss another lead again. Once you've converted a satisfied customer, you can shoot them a Google review request with a click of a button, which will explode your positive reviews and increase your position in search engines. The system will also pull new reviews from Google and Facebook right into your conversation stream, where you can read and reply. Jumpstart your business by getting started today.
So that was Power Brand Systems. Now, we don't prepare as thoroughly for these shows, Matt, as what Gareth does for the pod. But Lee, Matt has stolen our thunder, because next on my notepad was get Matt's thoughts. And Matt's like, do you want me to talk about it more? And I'm like, yes, please. So over to you, Matt, on that note, buddy.
Sorry, Paul. Again, there are more opportunities now to get involved in football in the UK than I think there ever have been. And I mentioned about the university game. I think from a quality point of view, that's where the future lies in terms of British American football. However, Paul, you mentioned about being involved with flag. I don't know whether you're aware, there are currently 41 men's flag teams across the country. There are 13 women's flag teams just in one particular league. Again, those flags, there's a Highlands League, 7 teams in there, a North A, a North B, a South, and Midlands. So there's opportunity for people who are maybe, number one, maybe a little bit older, but equally that necessarily don't want to be involved in the full contact. Under 16, there are 24 under 16 teams who play 5v5 kitted football up and down the country. There are currently 26 under 19 teams, again, kitted football, playing 9v9. So just no tackles there. They get rid of the tackles and obviously try and spread things out a little bit more that way. The women's 9v9 league, and particularly it's the National Women's Football League. There are 14 teams there. 7 development teams as well. So there's huge opportunities. And again, Manchester is one of the forerunners for the women's game up there. We've then obviously got the adult 19 and over teams. And out of those, there are currently 58 teams nationwide, stemming from Division 2 to Division 1, and then up into the Prem, where there's a North and a South division with 6 teams in each, with the Manchester Titans, who are the current UK champions. I mentioned as well about the NFL Academy. The NFL Academy, it's a global initiative led by the NFL, aiming to provide full-time education alongside intensive American football training. They are based now in Loughborough, and they've already had success. That was launched in 2019. They played down at Tottenham Stadium while the international series was on, and they ended up beating the New York City champion Erasmus Hall High School down there. And more than 40 of the Academy alumni have secured football scholarships in the USA, and 19 of those will be playing Division I football in the NCAA fall of 2024. They're looking, the NFL Academy looking to expand as well in April 24, and they've just opened another sort of hub on the Gold Coast in Australia to cover the Pacific region. The latest in the UK, we've now gone from these under-19s, I mentioned about under-19s being 9v9. We've just set up some regional hubs as well. So there's a Scottish hub, there's a Midlands hub, a North of England hub, and a South of England hub. And that's to try and get the youngsters involved in full 11 on 11 kitted football. And that's starting in the autumn of 2024 to try and develop talent going through, not only to play in the British leagues, but then to go forward with the possibility of, again, getting into the European leagues, the GFL, into the European League of Football, and obviously representing Great Britain. And then again, the university level, UWE Bullets, I mentioned, are the current champions. There are currently, if I do my maths very quickly, 83 teams in British university level, 43 in Division 2, 30 in Division 1, and then there's a Prem North and a Prem South with 5 teams in each there. So yeah, if anyone's interested in trying to get involved, if you go onto clubs.britishamericanfootball.org, there is a club finder facility there to see what's available near you. And then finally, and it would be remiss of me not to mention these guys, without these officials from BAFA, nothing can take place. And I know a lot of my former players who have finished their careers have gone into refereeing. And if you're interested in getting involved with refereeing, then it's www.bafra.info. So yeah, so hopefully you can see from that the opportunity to get involved, whether coaching, just being an assistant. There's so many positional coaches, as you'll be aware, but also all the roles on teams. And then refereeing is just immense. So again, I'm not on commission, nothing at all. Like I said to Paul earlier on, I just, over the last 40 years or so, with my love of the game, I've been so eager for football really to grasp hold in the UK and actually get to the position where the European League are in Europe. And for a variety of reasons, as Paul and I touched on earlier, in terms of maybe the organisation of BAFA from time to time, it hasn't quite happened. Whether it will in the future, fingers crossed, but all we can do is try and put it out there and get as many people involved as possible.
So there's a lot of love coming in for your T-shirt from our friends across the pond. So Red Jet Shell said your T-shirt is everything. Justin agrees. I jumped on. I was on the fence about ordering it, but seeing Matt Rocket, I'm like, I've missed a trick there. I definitely need. I was saying to Lee last week, Matt, before we get back onto all things American football, we kind of need our own T-shirt. I was trying to think what could we do, but that one there does it all. Now, to be fair, Lee, I have seen the flag football community growing, and I'm seeing the American football contact growing. But I'll be honest with you, Matt, me and Lee are based in the northeast of England. There's not a great deal up here. I mean, for the flag football, there's the Newcastle Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And there's a team based in Middlesbrough. At the moment, me and Connor tried the team in Middlesbrough for various reasons. Like you mentioned at the start of the show, a big thing for me was the commitment to playing time.
Yeah.
So at the moment, if you're playing flag football, you travel a long distance. You're traveling down to Sheffield, you're traveling to Nottingham. It's an all-day thing, and it tends to be on a weekend. So after I played last year, I thought, I need to give Tracy and the kids a little bit back. I've then committed to coaching, and lo and behold, our first tournament next weekend is in Sheffield.
Yeah.
So I've had to write on the calendar that I'm going to Sheffield next Saturday all day. So I'm very nervous and excited. I'm by no means leading these kids into competition, Matt. I'm one of 4 amazing coaches, but I'm being kind enough to go along. And like I said to you, it's something that I'm enjoying at the moment. But I think what me and Lee have discussed before, I think what would prevent the game growing in this country at grassroots level is something what's probably thriving in Germany. So like not a lot of schools play flag football. There's not a lot of contact teams. And you said to yourself, a contact game of American football is 3-4 hours long. So if you're training 3 or 4 times a week, if you've got other commitments, if you've got other sports. Some of the kids that I'm coaching are multi-sport athletes. They're playing cricket, they're playing rugby, they're playing football, they're playing soccer, and we are at the bottom of the pile. We lost a lot of kids last week in training because there was a football tournament on. But there is positive strides that are being made. I mean, what do you reckon, Lee? Do you reckon the 49er Faithful UK can get a flag football team going?
Oh, I would imagine we can definitely get a flag football team. There'll be plenty of interest in that. Me not being one of them, I turn up with my camera. I'll take photos. I'm way too old to do that. You were talking about your Achilles earlier on. Honestly, when I wake up in the morning and put my socks on, I fear for my life. So yeah, I think I'm past that. But it's an interesting point what you made before about there not being many options up in the northeast. Gateshead Senators have been going since the mid '80s.
They have.
I meant flag.
They were there when
I meant
was
flag football.
of an
There's only
age
two.
where- yeah.
There's only two flag, but contact-wise, there's quite a few different
but
options which we'll get into.
Contact-wise, the Senators have been there since the mid '80s, so they were there when I was a young adult. We'll say, but I didn't know anything about them.
They try to sign us.
Noughties.
They tried to sign me and you. Patriots Rams Super Bowl. They came over, remember?
Oh yeah.
All
I
right,
forgot
you
about
chaps. Do you fancy playing for the Senators? And we were like,
that. Yeah, I forgot all about that, man.
claim to fame, Matt.
Had I known back in the '80s, early '90s that Gateshead had a team, I'd have probably gone up either to watch them or actually try out for them. But I think the '80s, '90s, because you couldn't get it wasn't advertised as well. It was difficult to find out about them. I can't ever remember any British teams being advertised in the paper First Down. Can you remember the paper First Down?
I used to collect it religiously.
Yeah, and I can't remember anything about the British game being in there.
No. And I think
I wouldn't have had any idea how to go about looking for that.
I think that the issue, obviously, First Down particularly was, and I think this is an issue as well, is that First Down particularly, like you said, was NFL based. And with all due respect, the NFL aren't interested in British American football. They're interested, obviously, in marketing their product and growing their product in different markets around the globe. And I think for that reason, I remember I was looking up at the Jacksonville game down in London. I managed to get, when the commissioner was doing, Roger Goodell was doing sort of the day before a meet and greet. And when I managed to get in there, and I basically asked him the question: does the NFL have any plans about supporting the game of American football in the UK? And he gave me a political answer, of sort of, oh well, we do. Then he looked at one of his advisors. What do we do? Oh yeah, we do this with it. And it was basically, we want to grow the NFL. It's great you're interested, but that's nothing that we're looking to push. So any sort of NFL based publications, like you say back in the day, it was. I think the only reason I found out about the Nottingham Caesars, the Nottingham Hoods at the time, was because they were in my local newspaper under the sports section rather than anything particular. But it was literally a 2 or 3 line, American football comes to Nottingham, and bang.
I think social media's helping. I mean, I'm at the Middlesbrough now. Matt, Darlington Steam, so Darren Mitchell and a few others put together Darlington Steam a few years ago. I remember seeing him start as associate level. I remember seeing him start flag football. Then they started building this contact. And I kind of toyed with the idea. There was a few of my friends who were in a fantasy football league, and we kept having the discussion, should we go down? But I went to watch them play against the DC Presidents before COVID, and I just remember thinking my glass body wouldn't cope. And I was proven rightly with the aforementioned Achilles. Now, Brit has joined us, and she's put that it's the first time she's hearing about British American football. Now, to be fair, we have tried to generate some interest previously, Matt. So Nadgy, who would have been with us tonight, plays for the Chester Romans. Obviously, when I started playing flag football, I decided to kind of beat that drum. And I'm quite proud to say that, Michael's son's transferred to the Darlington Steam. So I was quite proud, Matt, that when I started playing flag football, a few others in the community started to play flag football. And Alex Simpson, who's a content creator for Let's Talk Sports, he's heavily involved in flag football. So we've had him on. So we are trying to turn that spotlight on. I will kind of disagree a little bit. I think the NFL are getting involved at the grassroots in flag football because it's a way of interesting the kids.
Yes.
So you say that. I mean, the NFL in general might be. So last year, we had a school down in Southampton reach out to us, ask if we could help provide them with some equipment for flag football for an after-schools activity. They had a lot of interest. It's just that they couldn't drum up the money to actually buy the kit, and because it wasn't a mainstream sport, they couldn't do it with the budget that they had. So I reached out to the 49ers to say, look, this is the perfect opportunity to grow the 49er brand in the UK. Start off with kids in a school. You provide the equipment for them to do flag football, brand it if you want to, because they'll remember this. But because they hadn't budgeted for it, it was kind of just pushed away. Oh, sorry, we can't do that. And it hasn't come back, and I think it's a shame. It's a shame they've missed a perfect opportunity, because you see the likes of the New York Jets, Chicago Bears, they are doing stuff with schools in the UK, and the 49ers aren't.
Jaguars are as well.
Yeah, the
Jaguars are as well, yeah.
I told them this last year.
I mentioned I'm a teacher. I went on an NFL flag training course at Nottingham University back in September, and it was with the idea of trying to obviously get flag into schools in our local area. And I know there are 3 or 4 schools now around where we are that have managed to establish that. So, you know, from that perspective, there is a branch of the NFL that's trying to get, like you say, the kids involved in flag, but then from a contact point of view, and whether or not that's due to the fact that obviously with the 2028 Olympics, it's obviously a sport out there and the NFL are interested in that. But I do feel like from a flag point of view, there may well be an interest from the NFL, but just generally of the sport in the UK trying to do anything about developing that, in my experience over the past however many years, it's never been something that they've shown a massive interest in. But again,
I mean,
like
there's the international player pathway. I mean, obviously, there's the guy who was at Washington, whose name I'll butcher. He was playing for London Warriors, London Blitz, and then obviously he made his way across. And there's been the odd exception. Ryan from No Border Sports has joined us. He's asked for a trade package, chaps. So they will send football players and coaches from America, as long as we send cricket players and coaches. I think that's a nod to the Americans qualifying for some cricket tournament I've seen.
Well, yeah, they got through to the Super 8s of the World Cup, T20 World Cup that USA did. So
I don't do cricket, so I do the NFL. That's my sport of choice, Matt. I don't do other sports. But, I mean, it has been interesting for me preparing for today. I didn't know much about BAFA. I said off early, Nadgy was our expert in that area.
So did you notice who the cover photo was?
Yeah, it was Nadgy playing for the Chester Romans.
Yeah.
I noticed that. He's our superstar. He's our superstar running back.
See, it's a shame he's not on tonight.
Yeah, he's not playing this year, Matt. Actually, we had our first endorsement deal on the podcast for Nadgy because he got a very good deal on his playing equipment last year, if you remember rightly, Lee, and we had to mention it on the podcast. Shoulder pads, helmet. So, I mean, I'll ask you a question, Matt. Do you think the cost of playing equipment at the moment could be preventing players from getting? Because obviously, flag football, you just need a flag belt, gloves, and a pair of cleats. But if you're playing contact, you know, you're going to need the helmet, you're going to need the shoulder pad, you're going to need a mouth guard. None of that stuff's cheap.
It's not, and again, it depends again where you're playing. I think particularly obviously for university level, you know, the universities there's more money there, and they tend to be able to provide or at least subsidise it. If you're talking sort of Division 2 football, then it's going to largely be, you know, we've not got a lot of money as a club anyway. Therefore, if you want to play, you've got to shell out. But I know higher up the leagues, I know the Nottingham Caesars this year, and again, sorry to keep banging on about them. It's sort of what I've grown up with, and I've seen them grow. And this year they've got a squad of sort of 7. In fact, their squad is too big for all of them to be on the game day roster. So they've gone from strength to strength, and as a result, financially they're in a really good position. They just missed out last year. In fact, the Northumberland Vikings beat them out last year. And they're now in the Prem and doing really well. The Vikings are actually. But I think it is a case of depending on what level you play at, then cost can definitely be a restricting factor. But you'd be surprised actually how expensive flag gear is. You know, that even just a proper set of the popping flag belts and the footballs it's not cheap just to get involved with that even. So
it's all right, chaps. Love Island's on now, so we can talk money because Tracy's not watching. So no, to be honest with you, I mean, I went down to the team in Middlesbrough. Obviously, you had to buy, you know, your own flag belt. I had to buy gloves. I had to buy cleats, and then obviously there was the cost of my jersey. And like you said, it isn't cheap. I do think flag football is a good stepping stone. So, like I said, you mentioned it earlier. You know, you were 13 and you went and played contact and you were waiting. I'm seeing that with the kids 9, 10, and 11. They're already looking up. So on a Saturday morning, we train the flag football team, but on the other pitch, there's the cadet team, the youth team. You know, teenagers, and they've got the helmets on, they've got the shoulder pads on, and I know there's a few of my kids thinking, I want to be over there. And it's like, hang on, you're not quite there yet. Because obviously player safety, even at that level, Matt, it takes precedent and there's certain ages to what they can go down. But I am seeing the game grow more. Darren Mitchell, you keep mentioning Nottingham. I'm mentioning his name. He's going on the schools in Darlington. He's putting flag football on in a number of schools. He's trying to grow the sport from grassroots level. So that's another reason why me and Lee kind of wanted to bring you on, because we've kind of shone a light on what we do, and then the community, you're part of that community, and we're trying to get people to understand what American football is in this country.
I think it all comes down to, as well, like with you guys doing this, it comes down to are there people in your area in terms of playing? Are there people who are willing to volunteer and put that time commitment in, and the sacrifice from the family that our particular sport does take? Not only training, but realistically, you need to be training twice a week minimum, really, and then a game day is a whole day. And if you're traveling, because we're talking national leagues, aren't we? We're not talking local leagues. So it's whether or not you've got an infrastructure of 3 or 4 guys to start with who are willing to sow that seed, and then hopefully bring other people in with that passion. And like you said, there are certain pockets of the country where that is really thriving. As I say, I'll mention Nottingham one more time. We've got an under 16 flag team called the Nottingham Arrows. We've got an under 19 contact team, the Nottingham Caesars. We're looking to start an under 16 kitted team as well. We've then got the senior Nottingham Caesars. We've got Nottingham Trent University Renegades. We've got the University of Nottingham gold team that are in the Prem, and then the green team. They've got 2 squads. So, Nottingham's a real hotbed for football at the minute. Bristol, I mentioned already, with the Bristol Apache and the UWE Bullets. That's a real hotbed. London will always be. And then Manchester in the northwest is starting to come to the fore as well. And Scotland. Scotland's always been a real advocate and a real driving force for British football as well. When you think about the EKP, East Kilbride Pirates have been there for donkey's years, amongst other teams, and Edinburgh Wolves, etc., etc. So I think it is a lot of it. It's just, are you lucky where you live? If you're into football, are you lucky to be in an area where you've got those volunteers?
Well, we've got to mention, Lee, Luke Jones, who's a part of our community. He's the general manager, Matt, of the East Kent Mavericks.
Yeah.
So I think we might have to do another BAFA show, get Nadgy back on, get you on, get Luke on. The HNC guys, they're the Scottish flag football. They run a podcast. Like you said, I'm more involved in flag football. And even though I'm not playing anymore, I still follow all the teams on social media. Yeah. Phoebe Schechter, good friend of the show. Best photo bomber in the world. And me and Lee have the photo evidence. She played for the Team GB who won the European Championships flag football last year.
I commentated on that game.
Yeah, she is. I mean, again, though,
sorry to interrupt you. Go on. You go.
I was just going to say, you were commentating that game. You're talking grassroots level. I was watching that game on the Sunday afternoon on my iPhone whilst trying to do family time. And Tracy's like, what are you watching now? And I'm like, other women running around playing flag football. But see them win the European Championship. Because I competed against some of those players at Flagging in the New Year, being in and around the awesome flag community. And Phoebe Schechter, we joke about that photo bomb, Lee. She was awesome as a host of the official watch party. And she even took time, Matt, to say, about the flag football and anything that she can do to help. And she's been true to her word. She sends DMs from time to time. She likes some of the tweets. We've used that photo. Me and Lee thought we were cool getting a photo together. And Phoebe's in the background. And that just shows that
it's a great photo.
She's amazing. What Phoebe has done for British football, but also for women's football as well. And the work she does both in the UK and again, obviously over in the States, she is just a globetrotter, and I know Phoebe quite well from a variety of bits and bobs, and she's just the sort of person who cannot do enough for anybody. If you ask her for help, she's been such an ambassador and a pioneer of British women's American football, both. And I don't know if you know the story, but when she would live in the States, she didn't play football at all. She knew nothing about it. It was only when she came over to the UK that she discovered American football and started playing it here. And it's that from there that her love of the sport and her involvement has grown. And obviously, whenever you've got an American involved in British American football, it always adds a little bit of credibility as well. And I know her love of everything American football within the UK is just phenomenal. Whether it's flag, whether it's men's, women's, university, she'll do whatever she can for whoever she can. And like you say, she's a great person to have on board, whatever you're going to do, and she'll be willing to get on board if she can.
So we do have a cheeky plug for Nadgy Lee. So Nadgy's baby is Discord, Matt, which obviously you've seen in the community. We've actually got our own Britball channel on there. So there is a few members of the community who play flag and contact. There's various teams. Connor plays for one of the Welsh teams. I think he plays offensive line. If I've got that wrong, Connor, obviously shoot me down. But to see the Britball talk, last year it was a lot flag dominated, but equally, if we can do anything to help shine a light. We've got a comment here from Neil. Thoroughly enjoying this conversation. We've got a new subscriber, Lee. Good to see you, Matt.
I've known Neil. Neil since I was 5 years old and he was 4 years old. Neil and I, our mums were friends. We grew up in the same village or the same area of Nottingham. And Neil and I, he's a Niner. He's a Niner, and to the point whereby I know I've spoken to Lee about this, but I'm planning a trip out to the West Coast in December. Neil currently lives in Seattle. He works out there for Boeing. Other airline companies are available. Tear
that flag down, Neil. Tear that flag down.
No, he's a Niner through and through, to the point whereby we've already hooked up since speaking to you, Lee, and we're going to that Monday night football game against the Lions together. I've not seen him for a fair few number of years, but Neil and I are almost like brothers from another mother. So it's great. It's really lovely to see that he's jumped on and not only supporting me but you guys as well. So that's great to see. And what time is it in Seattle now? It's 1 o'clock, isn't it? 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So he'll be about to wake now. He will.
So do you have any questions or thoughts for Matt Lee? I know you joined us partway through the conversation, but no,
I mean, Matt's pretty much covered off everything I wanted, and I got a couple of questions in that I was going to ask anyway. It's really interesting to hear about. So Paul mentioned at the start that the way we prep for these shows kind of differs between the four of us, the way we do it. And tonight I was using it as an excuse to say, well, I wanted to come in as a newbie to both BAFA and the European League of Football. So I did no prep whatsoever. So that was my excuse. But I wanted to ask it from a newbie perspective. But you did such a good job telling us all about it, Matt. You kind of covered off all the questions I had before I could even ask the questions. So well done on that. It is interesting. Like I said, but when I grew up, I didn't realise Gateshead was just up the road playing American football. So I didn't get the opportunity to go and watch that. And all I could do was watch the NFL on Sky Sports or Channel 4. So I feel as though somebody of my age, we kind of missed out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because now, growing up as a kid, you get 5-6 games, live games a week that are definitely on. Then if you've got Game Pass, you can choose whichever game you want. You've got any of them. So you're spoiled for choice.
I remember obviously on a Sunday night, knowing the Niners would be playing, but having to wait until a Tuesday until my local newspaper would literally have their tiniest little box at the bottom of their sports section with the scores, and that's how we found highlights and glued to the channel. Mick Luckhurst, Mick Luckhurst on Channel 4, thinking, are we going to get to see the Niners? Are we going to get to see any of Montana and any of Clark and Rice? Are we going? Oh no, another week we've got to wait. And not knowing that they've played out there in San Francisco, but not knowing for 2 or 3 days what they've done. And like you say, I feel if I was of that age now, like anything, and I'm going to sound like an old man now, but just take for granted what is available, to youngsters today for particularly keeping track of sports across the globe.
So what they should do, just to get a feel for what it was like in the 80s, they should listen to Armed Forces Radio and listen to the commentary of the
Yes,
game
they should.
rather than actually watch it. Because obviously, with it being a commentary of the game, the commentator's watching it in real time, but there's a split second between what they see and then describing what they see. So I remember sat in the 80s listening to Armed Forces Radio, listening to the 49ers game, and you hear the crowd go wild, great as a touchdown. And then seconds later, the commentator says, and it's been intercepted. And you think, oh, God. And it was obviously the opposing fans who were cheering. So you had to get used to that. And it was a bit like a kick in the balls to hear that. But that's the type of thing that we had to do. We had to sit
it was.
stupid night like we do now anyway for the Red Eye games, but listen to it on the radio. And sometimes with it obviously being analog radio, you had to keep on moving the aerial to get the best possible reception, because the reception wasn't great either. So you had to really, really listen intently to what was being said. So yeah, I mean, kids nowadays, they don't even know they're born, being able to watch any
1 hour, lad,
whenever they want. Yeah, I mean, constant NFL on the TV with NFL Network, and we would just basically live for a weekend to stick the radio on, hoping that you get enough signal to be able to actually listen to the commentary. But yeah, just show me age now. Show me bitterness.
I'm with you, Lee.
What Tracy's going to be delighted about, Lee, is when I come off the pod and go downstairs and say, oh, do you know Matt we had on tonight? He's talked to me about this wonderful European League of Football, and it runs differently to the NFL season. So I can watch football all year round. Isn't that great?
See, that's one of the reasons I got involved with British American football, because the British season is obviously kind of April till September, and then you go straight into the NFL. So now that you've got the European League as well, which is a professional league, and again, don't get me wrong, there are some great games going on in the British League, that, you know, up and down the country, Division 2, 1, Prem, there are some really, really great games and competitive games, and the standard is improving. But to be able to see a European League, which is professional, and the standard of what it is, like I say, it shocked me this year. So it is now, it is 24/7, 52 weeks of the year, live football. Yeah, it's amazing.
So I was going to say, Lee, Matt was going to have to give us a team to support, but he said at the start that obviously Tom Sewell's at the Rhine Fire.
Yeah, Rhine Fire.
Jamie Burgess has got a nephew playing for a team in Madrid. So I must admit, when I was looking at the 17 names, Matt, I was thinking, who can I pick to support? I ruled one out straight away because I can't pronounce it. I'm not sure where they are, but I looked at it and thought, pronunciation isn't my strong point. But have you got a favourite team?
Is it the Verhever and Throners?
Easy for you to say, because I couldn't even spell it. So I was like, I ain't what supporting them bad boys. But do you have a team, or you're not allowed to have a team now? You're doing the commentary.
I don't think I'm not allowed. I'm a Rhine fan because of Tom Sewell, if I'm honest. It's not because of the fact that they're current champions. You know, there's nothing to do with that. It is the Niners link, the Tom Sewell link, and again. That was I've not looked into the sort of the depth of other teams to see if there are any other sorts of links. But again, the Madrid Bravos, they're brand new to the league this year, and we're current. This week is week 5, and the Madrid Bravos. It's not like the NFL where they play every week. They have the odd week off just because of scheduling. But Madrid are one of 3 unbeaten teams so far. They're 3-0. Yes, 99 points, 4 in 3 games, and 46 against. But so the 3 teams that are currently undefeated, if you wanted to jump in on European bandwagons, the Vienna Vikings are a really strong-looking team from Austria. They're 4-0 at the moment. The Stuttgart Surge 3-0, and the Madrid Bravos 3-0. So they're the front runners. But again, don't be jumping on bandwagons. Don't go down that Patriots line.
If I'm being honest, what Tracy will be thinking is not another bloody sports team, not more caps, not more merchandise. You can go away with that. But all jokes aside, I mean, I think what I'll do is I'll watch some of it first. I know with like the XFL and the UFL, some people in our group jumped on bandwagons. And like you said at the start of the show, Matt, it's a difficult one because when it comes to football, I'm a Niners fan. The only other team I'd consider wearing is Stanford, because I went with Lee Gowland to watch a Stanford game.
Okay.
But football-wise, it's Niners or nothing really. So I don't know whether I could rock another team's jersey at this point.
I think if it's a different league, I'm all right with that, because again, NCAA, I'm a Crimson Tide fan. I spent a little bit of time out in Alabama, so and again that was when I was sort of 16, 17. I did lucky enough, a guy came to my sixth form college from Alabama on an exchange, and I got talking to him and talking about football and made that link there. So yeah, so I've got Crimson Tide gear, because it's not NFL, so that's good, that's fine. But there's no way you'd rock another NFL team, no way. So I think you're all right with the EFL, with the ELF rather. And actually, again, from a professional point of view, if you go on the European League of Football website, the shop it's like NFLshop.com. The range of merchandise is really, really good. It's the products like that, and the social media and the way they're trying to run things. I think it is very promising for that league to continue to grow.
That's how to sell it to our fan group. We all love a bit of merch, don't we, Lee? So he knows he's got the sweet spot there. He's like, get on the website. The merchandise is class. I knew you were doing something. And
again, no commission coming here, but it's just.
No, I mean, your passion for it shines through, and that's another reason we wanted to get you on. Like we've said, we're 49ers fans. Lee is the chairman, the president of this fantastic group that we've got. And it's nothing without the members and the community. We've grown from strength to strength. So when you reached out, obviously it's behind the scenes. We've had a couple of messages going backwards and forwards, but putting it together, I feel like, Lee, I was thinking this afternoon, are we going to be able to fill an hour talking about this? And I'm already thinking I'm going to need to get him back on, because there's loads that we haven't talked about.
So I've got to bring a good point about the Rhine Fire. There's another good reason that you should follow the Rhine Fire, Paul, you and me. I don't know if this is going to go over everybody's head, but the Rhine Fire play in Dusseldorf. And being from the northeast, there's an affinity with the northeast to Dusseldorf.
Okay. Elaborate.
No, you're not getting it?
No.
Auf Wiedersehen, Pet.
Oh, wow.
That's where they were based, Dusseldorf.
Wow.
I was going to say that's a bit before my time, but it isn't really. I'm not that.
I was going to say that's not.
Lee was like,
I know how old you are, Paul. That's not before your time.
But we will have to, obviously, I know you wanted to talk Niners as well, Matt, and we touched upon it at the start, but we're in this wonderful stage of the off-season at the moment where we are trying to churn out content on a weekly basis, whether it be the pod, whether it be the live. So it's been great for you to join us. I definitely want to know more about it. Have you got any final thoughts, Matt, that you want to get out there before we... I said I will keep you an hour. It's about an hour and 20 at the moment. I'm not trying to rush you off, but equally, I'm conscious that it is 9:20 in the UK, so I don't want to get into trouble off significant other halves.
Like I've put in the private chat, I just hope I don't talk too much, because I'm often told I do. So, all I would say is, like you said, my passion for this sport has been so long-standing, not only for the NFL, but just to make it succeed here. And I would just urge people that if you are wanting to get that sort of all year round fix, yes, the European League is there for you to have a watch out. And again, I'd advise to do that. Incidentally, my next commentary game is a week on Sunday. It's the Berlin Thunder against the Prague Lions. So I'll be commentating on that. But again, I mentioned this earlier on, Lee, there's a Game Pass feature, which very much like the NFL Game Pass, it's a subscription channel, although there are highlights that they put on YouTube after the game. So, but yeah, try and get involved in football some way, shape or form in this country if you can, and if you have the access to it in your particular location where you are, because as we all know, it is the greatest game on the planet, and it is the greatest game on the planet. I'm just really pleased that I've been able to talk about it. I don't want anyone to think, because no doubt, if this goes out places and people see, then they may well say, what does Matt Walker know about that? I'm not the oracle. I'm not an aficionado. There were bits I've said tonight that aren't necessarily accurate. But at the same time, I'm just pleased that we can talk about the greatest sport on the planet with fans of the greatest team on the planet. So thank you ever so much for the opportunity, gentlemen. And equally, I'm more than happy to stay until 11 if anyone wants to stay.
Well, I'm not finishing off just yet, Matt. I mean, the beauty of our social media team, which is me and Lee, we will be sharing the links to this episode for the next few days. Like I said, we do want to get you back on. Like you said, the aim of myself and Lee is to grow the community, and it's to feature people like yourself. And like you said, grassroots is there. If you want to know more information about what Matt's doing or local teams in your area, if you reach out to us via DMs, if we don't know the answer, as always, we'll put you in touch with the right people. I definitely think we need to get you back on, Matt, to talk with Nadgy, because Nadgy used to be our go-to guy for all things BAFA. And when we used to do the pods, he'd reference playing the game, and I used to get so jealous. And then when I started playing flag football, I felt like I kind of could have those conversations with him, but he still had that kind of like that elite level over me, because Nadgy is Nadgy. If you've seen his highlight reel, Matt, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I have it. Yes, it's well, it's very enlightening. Yeah, it's good to watch. Definitely.
Any final thoughts, Lee, while I have a look at getting the video ready? Because I always play the wrong video, Matt. It's a standing joke on this channel. So any final thoughts, Lee?
No final thoughts other than to remind people that as well as being able to do super chats on YouTube, which YouTube takes 30%, if you want to support the show, you can support the show using the tip jar feature that we now have, where we get 100% of those funds back, and then that helps us to fund StreamYard for another year. And with any luck, if we get enough, it'll actually help us to upgrade to the next level up, which gives us high definition rather than 720p.
So I did fly the link earlier, but then you started talking about the great Willie Mays, so I decided it was a little bit, maybe it's disrespectful to be flying the tip jar, so I took it down. But we have had a few people, Matt, donate, which is greatly received. It's well documented that we're not paid for this. We fund the StreamYard license out of our own pocket. Lee, more so than most. So we're just amazed on this journey of ours that we've got 1,000 subscribers, the fact that the people in the community want to watch what we're doing, the supporters on social media. As I said earlier, we will be back next week. I don't know what day, or whether it'll be a podcast, or whether it'll be a live, but keep those notifications switched on. I do want to thank both Lee and Matt for joining me. It's been a blast. And as I said, Matt, we definitely need to get you back on, because there's a lot more that we didn't talk about. And all that is left for me to say, Lee, is stay safe and go Niners.
Bang, bang, nine again.
Bang, bang, 9 again.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, deep Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time.